The Chargers just drafted Justin Eboigbe from Alabama in the 4th round. And with the guys that were on the board, I've already been seeing on Twitter a couple fans are upset. But first, let's get to know Justin Eboigbe, because this is a guy that was not really on a lot of our radars. This is a defensive lineman from Alabama. He's listed as an edge by PFF, but he actually played all along that defensive line at Alabama during his time there. He is 23 years old. The biggest thing about him, he's got a high motor. He is a high effort player, 6'4", almost 300 pounds, 297 pounds. So he's got pretty good size. He had 7 sacks last year, 11.5 tackles for loss. He can play on the 3 technique, the 5 technique, even on the outside, play on the edge, line up against a tackle. He's extremely versatile in the way that you can align him. Think of other guys in this draft like Brandon Dorlus from Oregon, Braden Fisk even, guys like that. The only thing with Justin Eboigbe, though, is that he doesn't have that crazy athleticism that those other 2 guys did. He's really just a hard-nosed football player, very physical, very strong, and he's also really raw. He's got a great high motor. He's a high-effort player, like I was saying. You can even line him up on the inside shoulder of a center. So there are so many possible ways that you can align this defense now, because we have Poona Ford, who's an interior defensive lineman that has some really good pass rush potential. Justin Eboigbe does as well. But then we also have guys like Tuli Tuipulotu on the edge, Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa on the edge. I mean, we have a lot of really good pass rushers. Don't forget about Morgan Fox too, actually. Now I'm thinking about this, there are so many different ways that we can have like a NASCAR package and get to the quarterback on 3rd down. But also, Justin Eboigbe, he doesn't have a ton of pass rush moves, okay? When he wins, it's not really something like a Laiatu Latu where he's really crafty with his hands, or like Joey Bosa where he's got some really nice moves. Think of more, I guess, like Khalil Mack. He's really just strong. He's got really nice hands. He's got heavy hands, can push back offensive linemen pretty well when he is rushing the passer at times. That's the one part of his game that I think Jim Harbaugh and Jesse Minter specifically, they are going to try to coach him up to get some pass rush moves. I don't think there's anywhere better for him to have gone than to this team with Joey Bosa and the coaching staff that we have, because Joey Bosa is one of the craftiest edge defenders in the NFL, and Khalil Mack, one of the best edge defenders in the NFL. I mean, just look at what Tuli Tuipulotu did in his rookie year. He looked so freaking good. So in terms of pass rush, doesn't have a ton of moves in his arsenal. He's still raw in that aspect, but against the run, how does he fare? He's pretty good against the run. He uses good leverage and he gets his pads low with some good balance, and he can stack and then shed away from offensive linemen when he needs to. He's not consistent in that area, but you're never going to find a defensive lineman that plays the run and fills those gaps every single play. He has shown that he can do it, and he was trusted to do that at Alabama with, Nick Saban. He was also used in stunt moves at Alabama as well, so he has shown the ability to rush the passer as a team, and understanding that, listen, man, the stunt move as a defensive lineman, specifically if you're on the interior defensive line, it's not always going to be you that gets the pressure or the sack. I mean, sometimes you're just supposed to take up 2 offensive linemen or just get in the way and be a distraction, which is something that Jesse Minter is really good at, by the way. So he's going to fit right in on that interior defensive line of this team with that pass rush that he has, the strong hands and the size. And he played with Alabama. He even played as a freshman at Alabama. Now let's get to the weaknesses of his game. So obviously the limited pass rush arsenal, okay? A lot of the times he doesn't really have a pass rush plan, and he just relies on his strength to just bull rush an offensive lineman, or his strong hands to trying to swat the hands off of him so that the offensive lineman can't really get a good hold of him. He also doesn't really have a ton of quickness or explosiveness to his game. This isn't a guy who's going to have a first step and boom, get straight down the field like a straight line rusher. He's going to win with power when he wins, and he is just a hard-nosed football player, very physical and high motor, high effort guy. That to me, just right there, that sounds like a Jim Harbaugh guy, a guy who's all for the team. And once I talk a little bit more about him, you're going to really like his story as well. But another weakness to his game is the athleticism, because his RES score wasn't really great. He didn't test entirely at the combine, but his athleticism in general, it's just about average. It's not like it's a huge weakness in his game and it's going to hold him back in the NFL. He's just not an elite athlete like a guy like Ladd McConkey, who's running a 4.3. It's not a huge knock for me because he's an interior defensive lineman and he has really high effort. You're not going to get a lot of interior defensive linemen with a high motor. So now let's talk about his story a little bit here, because this is where I start to really like him. He had a neck injury before the Week 5 game against Arkansas in 2022, and he missed the rest of the season that year because he had to have neck surgery because of a herniated disc pushing against his spinal cord. So that is a very serious neck injury that he had. He was in a neck brace and used a bone stem device, and he had to work his way through rehab. And throughout that injury and rehab process, he got back on the field in 2023, this past season, and he had the best year of his career. So he fought through a very serious neck injury, and then he came back after the whole rehab process and had the best year of his career with 7 sacks, 11.5 tackles for loss. So this is a guy who had a very serious neck injury in 2022, but he fought through all of that, all of the adversity there. He persevered, came back in 2023, and at Alabama, this is a big time freaking school. He not only had some good playing time and started, he had the best year of his career with 7 sacks as an interior defensive lineman. I mean, really, he's just a defensive lineman because he played all over that defensive line. You can play him anywhere, but the point still stands. He's got high character. He's perseverance, and he is a high effort player. This is exactly what you want in a day 3 prospect. And I know that a lot of you guys are not going to like this pick because just the position, right? We need a tight end. Like, look at the guys that were available. Theo Johnson, Cade Stover is still available. I know Jatavian Sanders just went. Don't really think he would have been a fit for the Chargers because he can't block that well. But still, there were a lot of really good tight ends, and we are going to be using tight ends a lot. There were also some really good cornerbacks on the board that fell, like Khyree Jackson from Oregon, that 6'3" boundary corner. We are in desperate need of that. TJ Tampa as well. I was talking about drafting TJ Tampa in the 2nd round. I think the reason that they're going this way right now is because this defensive line group, we really only have Poona Ford, Morgan Fox, and then some other guys that are not really going to be getting like significant playing time this season and then next season. Like Morgan Fox and Poona Ford, they're both on the last year of their contracts. So we could really be looking at a huge weakness after this year if we don't address this position and get preemptive, get ahead of the problem, just like we did with Joe Alt, because Trey Pipkins is not going to be here after this season. We would have a glaring hole at a premium position. And the defensive line, I mean, it depends on how you look at it, but a lot of those guys can be premier players because you rush the passer. And what do we really, really want to do? We want to establish the run and we want to stop the run. Justin Eboigbe, he has the pass rush and he also can run stop as well. Let's look at his PFF grades here. So these are his PFF grades. You can see overall he graded 78.7, 86.4 in run defense. So that is the best part of his game. That is what you're going to see with a high effort player. They're always going to be giving their all against the run. Tackling was a strong part in his game. He actually had 2 games right here where he didn't tackle very well at all. Against Michigan, he wasn't great at all tackling. So against Jim Harbaugh, man. But hey, this pass rush grade, it's not that great by PFF. But in my opinion, I really have not seen a ton of interior defensive linemen or like defensive linemen that line up in the 3 tech and the 5 tech as much as Justin Eboigbe did that grade highly by PFF. So I'm not too concerned about that. You can look at the sack numbers: 7, 5 hits, 18 hurries, 2 batted balls, 32 tackles, man, 7.1% missed tackle rate, and 31 run stops this past season. So I like this pick with the guys that were on the board. Like me personally, I probably would have gone with TJ Tampa just because I really think we need to fill that room. And also I like TJ Tampa as a player. But I am totally bought into this Jim Harbaugh and Joe Hortiz era. So if they liked Justin Eboigbe enough to draft him over some of these other guys that were on the board and could have helped us, I'm going to trust their process. And like I said, this is a high character, high effort guy. He's going to come in, hopefully get playing time right away, and he's going to develop. So that is Justin Eboigbe. Let me know what you guys think about this pick. Are you happy with this? I'm sure a lot of you are going to like the player, but with the other guys that were available, Kind of like that same Joe Alt situation. We passed on Malik Neighbors, but we have a really good player in Joe Alt. Yeah, let me know what you guys think. I'm going to be making a video about every other prospect that gets drafted by the Chargers here. So make sure to subscribe so that you don't miss out on that. And yeah, let's see who we get.